All right, Falcon Paladin fans. It's Falcon Paladin here with the very first Game of Thrones episode recap. I have so many thoughts about the Battle of Winterfell that I figured I would create a video about it. There is not enough time on the podcast for me to discuss all of my feelings about this episode. So I took some really, really bad screen caps from my HBO Now or HBO Go website here on my own computer. I'm not entirely sure why they turned out so bad, but it's just dark. The whole episode is dark. Before we start, I just want to say I love Game of Thrones. I'm not going after the actors. The acting performances were incredible. The costuming was incredible. The action was incredible. I just have issues with the writing and the overall story decisions. Okay? Okay. So I did not fall in love with Game of Thrones because it's like every other fantasy epic that I've ever watched or read. Ned Stark's death, right? He's set up as the hero. He gets beheaded. I was like, oh, this is a little bit different here. Nobody is safe. And then the Red Wedding. And then Jaime losing his hand. Best swordsman in all of the Seven Kingdoms. And he loses his hand because he defended Brienne. And I was like, all right. This is pretty darn excellent at this point. So, but ever since they ran out of the stories from the books and they're in uncharted territory, I kind of feel like the plot armor is horribly too thick. All right. So this is where I'm coming from. Okay, so this is how dark it was. Check this out. This is insane how dark it was. How about you build a little fire, you guys? How about you build a little bit of a fire? I know there's one over there, but I think that's just one of the catapults with one of the flaming rocks that we're going to see in just a minute. Other than that, man, it is so dark. I think there's a little bit of a moon, but crikey, it is so dark. I watched this on my projector, okay, downstairs in my basement, just projecting it onto a blank white wall, and usually behind me I just have a little bit of a hall light on, but I had to go and turn that off to see anything. And by golly, it was hard to tell who was getting killed, whether it was a northerner or a Knight of the Vale or, you know, maybe an undead person. No way to tell who's getting run through by a sword in most of this episode. Hey, check it out. It is Melisandre. So Mel shows up, and I gotta say, I'm super happy about the way they handled her. This is one of the things that I'm most pleased about, what they did with some of the characters on the show. Melisandre has been shown to be completely and 100% devoted to serving the Lord of Light and fighting the darkness, which she interprets to mean the Night King. She shows up because she has to. She knows Davos wants her dead. She knows Jon wants her dead. She knows Arya wants her dead. Everybody wants this lady dead, but she shows up because she knows it is the battle against the Night King, and she has to do what she can. Now, she didn't show up and ride on in and win the day. That was my favorite thing about it. She did what she could within her own scope of powers, within her own belief in the Lord of Light, in R'hllor, and did her best. She kind of swung the battle. We'll get that into a minute here, but initially, all she initially does here is she lights all of the swords of the Dothraki. Now, interestingly enough, the Dothraki, it seemed like they weren't using dragon glass. It looked like they were using the scythes, the curved swords they've been using since we saw them in Season 1. So I'm not sure what they were planning on doing against the undead if they just refused to use dragon glass. So it was really nice of Melisandre to come in and light their arms on fire because they would need it if not for the fact that they were stupid and they charged on in. Now, this is a really good shot here of everybody charging on in. Again, it's so dark, but I'm pretty sure that's Jorah. Jorah is leading to the Dothraki. They're cruising on in here. It's still really dark. They're using their artillery for the only time in the entire episode. This is the only time artillery is used in this entire thing. I don't understand why this is. I don't know why they only had about, 50 or 60 of these rocks to throw and never used them again. Drove me insane. Also, apparently, riding headfirst with a bunch of horses into the undead horde means everybody dies. Who saw that coming? I talked about this. I talked about this on the Discord. I talked about this in other places. But basically, if I said this before the episode came up, I said if the Dothraki ride headfirst into the horde, I'm going to be so upset because they have archers. They're fast. They needed to engage in hit and run tactics with the undead, flank them, draw them away from Winterfell maybe a little bit. They can outrun the horde because the horde is on foot. But instead, no, let's blindly charge ahead into our deaths for no reason other than I think the horse budget was over for the season. They said we don't have any more money for horses. All the horses needed to die in the first 5 minutes, and the horses all died. Here is a picture of Ghost charging alongside Jorah here. This is the last time we see Ghost, by the way. I really get the feeling that they forgot Ghost existed when they were filming the season. and said, oh, yeah, Ghost is a thing. Go back and CGI in him to a few of these shots, and maybe nobody will notice. He's such an afterthought. He charges against the undead. We never see him again. If he died off screen to the undead horde, I'm going to be upset. Ghost is a big deal. John loves Ghost, even though John forgot that Ghost existed for the last, I want to say, season and a half or so, based on what the writers are doing with the character. It drives me nuts. Ghost, I hope you ran into the woods. I hope you found some deer to hunt, and you're just enjoying a nice meal of deer and a couple rabbits, and you didn't get killed by the undead horde, because I'll be very sad if that's the case. All right, now this... Why did I take this? Oh, I know what this is. All right, so after the Dothraki all die, I do want to say the visual of the Dothraki riding into the horde and all of their flaming swords going out one by one was an incredibly stirring visual. I was like, oh, all right, this is serious business. You can't even hear what's going on because they're so far away by the time anything happens. You can hear the screams and the cries a little bit, but it's not like this thundering noise, and the lights just go out and the Dothraki are gone. The showrunners are like, you know what? The Dothraki, they've been around since season 1. They're out. They're gone. We're done with them. We're moving on. And that's where we ended up with this. It drives me nuts. So anyway, now this is the moment that I said, oh my gosh, they did the undead right. This is where we see the Unsullied set up. Their spears are ready to go. The undead come cruising in, and it is not being attacked by an enemy. It is being overrun by a tsunami of undead soldiers. They're not attacking. They're not using their swords. They're just running as fast as they can and pushing each other up over the spears of the Unsullied like a wave crashing onto a beach. And I said, that is how you do an undead assault. It was breathtaking. It was insane. Now, what I want to see here real quick, we're going to pull this one up. I just want to say, this is one of the shots where we saw all of our heroes on the front lines. This is Podrick and Brienne. We see Jaime up there. We see Tormund up there. We see the Hound up there. We see many of our heroes on the front lines during this assault, and everybody lives. Spoiler alert, everybody is part of this particular wave crash. Brienne especially, you see her get overwhelmed by the undead, and she's fine at the end of the episode. I don't know how she did it. I don't know how any of these people did it. It drove me insane. All right, so now we get to the interesting things. This is where I'm like, all right, finally. It's a Zerg rush, and we're finally getting some AoE. So we get AoE. Look at this. Look how awesome this is. We need just pass after pass after pass of this from Dany and Jon, but instead they do 1 or 2 passes, kind of get distracted by stuff, look around, see what's going on. They have quite a few minutes before the Night King shows up to where they can just make pass after pass after pass and just roast up thousands of these undead, making them so they can't come back, taking them out of the fight entirely, reducing the forces of the Night King, saving the lives of the alive. And instead, they do this maybe 3 or 4 times. It's an amazing spectacle. It's incredibly effective. It's the best weapon they have against this undead horde of countless thousands, hundreds of thousands of undead. And they just don't use it to their full potential, and it drives me nuts. Next up, the next form of AoE they have is the trench. Now, a couple thoughts on this. They have 1 trench, and it's 2 feet deep. That's it. That's all they have. They've had, I want to say, probably 100,000 people at Winterfell for the last, I don't know, few weeks, right? You have the Knights of the Vale, you have the Dothraki, you have everybody from all the northern houses. You've got the Unsullied, and nobody knows how to dig more than 1 trench or make one that's deeper than 2 feet deep. The undead, it stops them for, I think, 3 minutes. And then the Night King's like, look, stupids, use your own friends' bodies as bridges to cross, and that's done. It's done. It's effectively useless. It drove me nuts. Next up, we have the Wall Assault. I want to see, where is this? This is it. Okay, again, horribly hard to tell what's going on here. But the undead are scaling the wall. Is there any burning oil being poured down on these guys? No. Any burning pitch? No. Any rocks to throw? Maybe giant boulders? All we have are archers, and then when they get to the top of the wall, we use swords to push them away. That's it. That's literally all they had. And I want to point out, a lot of our heroes are now here on the wall. Hey, look at that. Tormund's up there. The Hound is up there. Brienne's up there. Jaime's up there, manning the wall. Gendry especially gets a very nice long shot of him manning the wall. And again, against an innumerable horde that there are so many of them, they're pushing up on top of each other to get on top of this wall. You're not going to survive this. You're not. You're done. There's no surviving this if you're up on top of that wall. Jaime does. Anyway, All right, so then we move on to the Arya portion of the episode, where Arya is awesome. She uses her spear that Gendry made her in the last episode to kill like 20 whites. No big deal, no sweat. Although, some interesting facts here, interesting ways we're dealing with Arya here. One, she gets tired. She's not an unstoppable killing machine. She has stamina that she can get depleted. She's really good at killing stuff one-on-one, but she can be overwhelmed. There's a reason the Faceless Men don't hire themselves out as mercenaries and instead hire themselves out as assassins, is because they are killer in one-on-one situations and not that great in pitched battle. As we can see here, Arya becomes afraid. She becomes exhausted. She's hiding from the undead. This does set up later in the episode, so I do appreciate what they're trying to do here with the writing of saying Arya is not only a great fighter, she's also very silent and sneaky when she needs to be. So that's what this is. It's just a lot of Arya running around a library, I think, trying not to draw the attention of the whites. Then she ends up getting saved by the Hound, and she gets saved by Beric, yada, 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 etc. Now, here is a scene. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on again. It's so dark, you guys. This episode is so dark. It happens like at 3 in the morning. It's the darkest it can be. So we have our friend Theon set up here with his Greyjoy friends defending Bran against, look at the number of horde that are there. Look how many there are going into the distance. They're running as fast as they can. Some of them, during this scene, I believe Jack Attack TV made this argument on Twitter. They are running so fast, they are getting past Theon before the scene cuts, right? They cut as they approach Theon, but the momentum carried them past Theon. So what they're trying to establish here is that they're incredible archers, but in every single real-world scenario and every fantasy scenario ever, if the archers don't have any cover, if the archers don't have anybody defending them, they die. They can't shoot fast enough to actually take down a bunch of people rushing at them unless you're Legolas, unless you're a magic elf, and Theon is not a magic elf, nor are any of the Ironborn. I know they're incredible archers, I understand that, but they're not shooting fast enough to handle what is being thrown at them, and it drives me insane. There is something else here. Ah, yes, we want to get here. All right, this is Lyanna. Hard to tell. This is Lyanna Stark taking down 1-1, the reanimated giant white, right? Yes, that's what he is. Now, a couple thoughts here. Lyanna is a badass. I love her and I'll miss her. I will never forget that she was the first person to support Jon Snow. He's not a Stark. He's a Snow and a Targaryen. When he bid to control the North, when he said, I will help you guys out. I need your assistance. The undead are coming. The first person to support was Lyanna here. Lyanna Mormont. Did I call her Stark? She's Lyanna Mormont. I'm getting my Starks confused. And she ends up going out in an awesome way. She takes down a giant. She gets crushed. It is really hard to watch, like an 11-year-old girl get smashed aside and then crushed to death by a giant. But if she was going to die, she was one of the 6 named characters that died today. I'm glad that she went out in an awesome way. Okay. There's Lyanna. Oh, hang on. Spoiler alert. We're not there yet. Okay, next up, we have this scene. We have this scene wherein the Night King gets roasted up by Drogon, doesn't affect him at all, does not even singe his clothing. That is how protected he is against dragon fire. Holy crap. Does not go well. He has a bit of a smirk here, which is one of the first times I feel like the Night King showed any kind of a personality, which I appreciated. Right? He kind of, his mouth kind of curves up a little bit. He's like, yeah, I thought you'd try that. It's not going to work, man. So he is just killing it right now. Daenerys attempts it, gets out of there. She flies away as fast as she can. She doesn't know what to do. She can't burn it. She's not sure how to solve a problem. And then we have Jon trying to attack the Night King after he gets thrown off his dragon, which is previously. I skipped all of the dragon battle stuff because I don't know that it matters too much. Basically, Jon and Dany don't know how to fight on dragons, don't know what aerial combat is. The Night King doesn't either, really. It's just a bunch of like flying around and biting and fire, and nothing too important happens there. I mean, I guess the resurrected white form of Viserion does get injured, but not killed. And otherwise, I don't think there are any other real consequences here. I think both Drogon and Rhaegar, the dragon named for Rhaegar, I'm not sure, Rhaegarion or something, they seem fine. I don't think they're dead. I think they'll be back in the next episode. But anyway, on the ground here, the Night King, he's using his powers of raising the dead to be obedient mind slaves to him. And this is why fighting the Lich King is such a pain in the butt. Everybody you send after him that ends up dead, he gets. So, I mean, I love this scene because it really re-emphasizes why killing the Night King is a huge deal, why he is such a difficult enemy to get rid of. And that's it, right there. He is looking good, my guy, the Night King. This is, later on, Daenerys really not paying attention to all the horde creeping up behind her. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that, you guys. It's hard to see. Basically, this is the best shot I can get of her staring at Jon, who's like fighting his way through the undead. She's not helping at all, by the way. While a bunch of undead whites climb on to Drogon, like a bunch, like 100 of them, and try to kill him with individual little stabs, which is kind of awesome of them. Like, good effort, guys. But it did not work, and he takes off and leaves Daenerys on the ground. Next up, I really liked this scene. Just the concept of all of these undead whites falling from the sky as Drogon desperately tries to shake them off in the air above the castle and above Winterfell was amazing. So not only are you fighting undead, you've got undead whites falling onto your head, crashing through ceilings. It was one of the better, I think it was great. It was a great idea. One of the better kind of set pieces in this TV show. Like one of the better set pieces. I really, really, really highly enjoyed it. And then we have, yes, the Crypts. No safer place than the Crypts. This is a moment that I felt like could have been more impactful. It's Sansa and Tyrion hiding from the undead who are massacring everybody in the Crypt who doesn't have a name. If you had a name and you were in the Crypts, you were fine. Plot armor, beautiful. Are any of you fighters? No. Tyrion, Sansa, Varys, Missandei, none of you are fighters, but all of you are just fine. Gilly, Little Sam, 100%. Not a scratch on you. Well done. Way to get that plot armor, guys. But what I wanted to happen here was they had a suicide pact, right? They were like, before the whites take us, let's kill each other. Just so we don't get turned into... We don't have to, like, suffer the indignity or the pain, I guess, of being a white. It's confusing, because even if you're dead, the Night King's going to raise you. Anyway, they're planning on killing each other, and they don't in the end, because I think Saved by the Bell, I believe is how that worked. Anyway, just another example of something that could have been awesome. I just feel like Martin has them kill each other here. I do. I think Tyrion and Sansa die to prevent themselves from turning, well, again, I keep saying that, but just preventing themselves from being killed by whites. When it's tragic because they didn't need to, because Arya was going to save them in a couple minutes anyway. I think that's a Martin thing to do, but Benioff and Weiss are incapable of that, so these guys are fine. Here's Bran being utterly useless during this battle. Utterly and completely 100% useless. He wargs into a raven because he'd rather do that than have a small talk conversation with Theon, which, I don't know if I can blame you, man. But seriously, he did nothing for this battle. I figured he'd warg into the ravens and get a bird's eye view of what's going on. Keep tabs on the Night King and relay that back to Jon. No, none of that happened. Bran did nothing but sit under this stupid tree and do zero things to help. Zero things to help you guys. This is Bran. Here we have Jon hiding from, again, Viserion, the reanimated white dragon. He's having a bad time. I think he's trying to get to Bran. He knows that Bran's in trouble because the Night King's on the ground in Winterfell, but he can't get past this dragon. He tries a few times. He's very brave about this. He tries a few times, but can't quite pull it off. We have another one here. Yeah, we have another one here too coming up. Anyway, is there not another way around to the godswood? Can we get to the tree where Bran is without going directly through this courtyard where the dragon is? If not, okay, cool. But I just feel like Jon should know the castle well enough to have an alternate route he could take to get there. Instead, he totally gets stymied by this dragon thing. Doesn't try anything to get around him at all. This is the scene wherein Jon, I saw this from Twitter, Jon thinks he killed a dragon with a yell. He thinks he yelled this dragon into dying, because that's what happens. He yells at it here, the dragon falls down 10 seconds later, and he's like, oh. For just a bit, he believes he was able to kill an undead dragon by yelling at it, because this is Skyrim. It's a great scene. This face right here, poor Jon, he's just at the end of his rope. And here's Arya. Arya being held by the neck by the Night King. Now, one thing I want to point out, Arya is able to get past about 15 walkers that came with the Night King into the godswood. None of them saw her. None of them tried to stop her. They sensed a breeze blowing past them. Again, Shadow Step, I guess. Shadow Step being a World of Warcraft spell that Arya apparently learned when she was hanging out with the Faceless Men. My one question here, like, I love the whole drop the dagger, stab him with the other hand, right, again, apparently right where the Children of Men stabbed him to create him in the first place. I guess that's how that works. I've seen that theorized on Twitter. But nothing is stopping this dagger hand from going downwards, from progressing down. The left arm of the Night King is choking her. Her arm stops as though it is being stopped by something. I don't know what that is. I don't know why she stopped bringing that dagger down, why she didn't stab the Night King in the face with that Valyrian steel dagger. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why. But good job, Arya. You killed the Night King. That was fantastic. And here we have our list of people who survived. Now, in fairness, Jorah did not survive. Jorah got stabbed many, many times, which is apparently the only way to kill some of these named characters, was stab them about 18 times. So he's dead, but he died serving Dany, which, honestly, if you told him this is how you're going to die, he would have accepted that wholeheartedly without question. He wanted nothing more than to die protecting Dany, and he did. So Jorah the Explorer, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being a guy. You dead. Dany is fine. Here we have an amazing scene wherein, again, hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure that's Gendry. Okay, so the right side we have Grey Worm. In the middle is Gendry. To the left of him, it looks like Tormund. And to the left of him, I think is Jaime. And then an unnamed helmeted person here facing. But look at this. Look how many dead people there are here. And almost every single alive person is named. Are they all on steroids? Are they all just way leveled up compared to everybody else in this Dungeons and Dragons universe? That every other NPC is dead to these whites, and the people that we care about are the only people remaining. Why? How? This is not a Martin story. Here we have, here we have up against the wall. It looks like, actually, that's Jaime, so maybe not Jaime back there. I don't know who that is. But Jaime, Brienne, and I don't know if that's Pod. It kind of looks like Pod, but his face is maybe too narrow. Again, the point is, our heroes were backed up against a wall by untold countless hordes of undead and are fine. Not dead, not crippled, didn't lose a limb, didn't lose an ear. Fine. Next up, here we are. Everybody in the crypts. Everybody we cared about. We got Varys. We have Tyrion. We have Sansa. We have Missandei. We have Gilly. And we have Sam. Of all the people who got massacred by the Starks, who were raised by the Night King, none of them had names. And therefore, we don't care about them. Way to go, named people in the crypts, for surviving the horrors that got everybody else. Okay, not everybody else, but I just, you know what I mean here. Davos survived the entire battle because he, I don't know why. He's not a fighter. We've seen that. He has minimal fighting training. He wanders around the castle. He gives signals, tries to give signals to Dany, fails to do so, and somehow is okay at the end of the battle. We never see him fight anything. None of the whites find him, I guess. He has a really good hidey hole, but he's fine at the end of the battle too. Is crazy talk, is what it is. There's one more thing here. Oh yeah, and then we have Sam. Sam, who one gets Ed killed. Ed, one of the named people who dies in this episode. Ed dies because he stops to pick up Sam and give him a pep talk, and he gets run through the back by Ed's dagger. That's how Ed dies, protecting Sam. Way to go, Sam. How does Sam repay him? By apparently being in a writhing mass of undead that are killing him for most of the episode. But you know what? He's fine. There's a great moment where Jon is running to try to take down the Night King, and he looks and he sees Sam, and Sam begs him for help. And Jon says, doesn't say it, but he looks, he has a look in his eye that says, I don't have time to help you. I don't have time. Keeps going, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he sacrificed Sam to stop the Night King. No, he didn't, because Sam is fine. How? I don't know. Plot armor. It's magic, is what it is. And then here we have Brienne on the front lines. We've got, that's Lyanna. Great. And finally, we have Melisandre wrapping up her day. Okay, so she lit the scythe swords of the Dothraki. They all die. She sets fire to the trench. Doesn't do anything. The really important thing that she does is she tells Arya that Arya is awesome. And we say no to the god of death. And that she prophesied that Arya would kill people with blue eyes, which means the Night King, gives Arya the confidence to hunt down the Night King and murder him. That is the one thing she did here today that really made a huge difference. And having accomplished her goal of helping defeat the Night King, she's done. That's it. Her entire purpose in life, as far as we know her in the show Game of Thrones, is to stop the Night King, and once he's defeated, she's done. And she is like a billion years old, because she takes off the necklace that we can see her taking off here, and she turns into the old version of herself, and I guess is the true version of herself, and falls over dead in the snow, and Davos watches her die, because he still wants her dead, regardless of her help today. Because again, what she did to Shireen, I get it. She had Shireen burned alive. It didn't do anything. It was horrible. Melisandre doing what she thought was right, at the same time, a pretty horrible character, but was able to kind of save the day anyway. And that is very Game of Thrones. That is a very Game of Thrones idea. I did appreciate her whole arc there. So, blah. So, again, the people that died here, what are we looking at? Lyanna Mormont, she had an awesome death. She went out big, minor character. We had Ed. Fine, Ed was a nice guy. He was nice to Sam. He was Jon's friend. But otherwise, I don't care about him. He's dead. Beric went down. It was nice. Fair enough. It was nice to know the reason for Beric's constant resurrections. He ended up directly saving Arya, and then Arya killed the Night King. So that's it. Melisandre provided that context. I was happy to hear about that. But again, Beric had been ready to die for a long, long time, and finally did, and he's okay with it. Beric. Who else do we have? Yeah, so Jorah died. Theon died. So Jorah and Theon, the two biggest names in this episode that died. Now, here's my thing. You cannot give me a no-win scenario in the Battle of Winterfell where the walls are breached, the undead are pouring into the castle proper by the hundreds and thousands. The crypts are full of the undead and massacring everybody down there, the unarmed and the unskilled in combat down there. And then at the end say, but almost every single one of your heroes is alive. Hooray! Based on the shots that we saw there, it seems like there are maybe 100 people left in all of Winterfell, of all of the Knights of the Vale, of the Dothraki, of the Unsullied, of whoever else was there helping, of all the Northerners. It seems like there are 100 people at most alive. 20 of them, we know their names. And that sucks. It annoys me so much that we had a dead scenario. Everybody was dying. Arya pulls it out at the last second, but not before the undead have completely overrun Winterfell. Completely overrun it. Look, all I want is if you want your heroes to all live, if you want everybody to be happy with you because most of the people you care about are alive, maybe don't have the whites breach the wall. Maybe have them outside climbing it, ready to breach it, or having just breached it, and then they all die because the Night King goes down. But don't tell me the whites have been inside Winterfell pillaging and killing the alive and the humans for how many minutes now, and the only people who survived are the ones who are protected by the fact that they have a name. Don't do it. Don't do that to me, please. It drives me insane. All right, so yeah, I'm annoyed about the tactics. I'm annoyed about the story. Like I said, I take no issue with the acting. I take no issue with the special effects or the CGI or anything else. It looks amazing. I wish it was brighter. I wish maybe this had taken place like in the early morning hours when we have some of the sun we see here with Mel, but we don't. We don't. It's just hard to tell what was going on. That was a big complaint of mine, but I think that's it. I think those are my complaints about Game of Thrones, and that's my recap of Game of Thrones. I'm going to try to do the next couple episodes as well. I'm not turning this into, I'm going to review TV shows all the time, but I have so many thoughts about Game of Thrones, and they're not all going to fit on the podcast, especially not with Endgame having just come out. So if you like what's happening here, if you like what I did, let me know in the comments. If you're like Falcon, stick to casting StarCraft, like I can totally do that too, but I'm going to finish up Game of Thrones. I might do this about some other shows that I watch, but it was a bit of work getting these screenshots off. Again, not the highest quality. I'd have to improve that for sure, but yeah, that's about it. So thanks for hanging out with me here for this recap, this Game of Thrones rant of Falcon Paladin. Hope you enjoyed it. And until the next one, thanks for watching this, and you take care of yourself.